Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back with another. Well, this is just a talk. Today we're going to be talking about perspective and intention and the powers that are held in perspective and intention. This is bordering on some knowledge, and it is laying groundwork for later knowledge. But it's laying the foundation for these things. And first, we're going to talk about perspective. And perspective is the way that you look at things. Most of the time, you don't recognize your own bias in your perspective. But nothing that affects you more than your perspective of things. And this is really sounding a little bit weird, and so we're going to talk about it. You get back what you put in, or you get back what you put out, right? And so the energy that you feed out is the energy that returns to you. And if your perspective is always on the negative side of things, then you're going to attract negative things towards you. It is a fundamental law of the universe that you get back what you put out. Without what you reap is what you sow. Karma, dharma, whatever you want to call it. None of these concepts are complete in the way that they're expressed anywhere, but it is impossible for man to express things completely. But it is a very real thing. And the things that you say, the vibration of your voice, will bring to life outcomes. And so if you're always saying things such as, it's a shitty day today, it's going to be a shitty day today, then you are bringing about a shitty day today. Now, there are things that are beyond your control. And even though they are beyond your control, you can control you. And having a positive perspective is not, for everyone, an easy thing. Some people are born that way. Some people just naturally look at everything on the bright and sunny side. I am not one of those people. I have trained myself over the years to be one of those people. So much so that people that know me now would never possibly conceive of me the other way. It's because the energy that you put out is what you get back. And I'm aware of this law. I've not been as dutiful in implementing it as I probably should have been, but I am aware of it. And I have used it. But perspective can also physically affect you. Y'all know that I'm a disabled person, right? I have 13 discs that are either bulging or herniated from the top to the bottom. They're scattered all the way through. I've got 4 of them in the thoracic region in between my shoulder blades. They're inoperable. Then they impinge the spinal cord in that area. So I have nervous twitches and I have trouble doing things. I could very well sit around and wallow and mope all day long and be perfectly fine. Like, people would expect it. When I walked into the Social Security office the first time to get my disability, the doctor said, I can't believe that this man is walking. Right? And now I just hit a milestone that it's taken me over 2 years to get to, but I can walk a mile in 15 minutes. That is a big deal. It was taking me 40 minutes when I started 2 years ago to walk a mile, and that was pushing myself hard. And so now I'm at 15 minutes, but I could have looked at it as I'm just broken, and there is no redemption past this, right? It's inoperable. They can't fix anything that's in me. The things that are broken, like, they could put stuff in my neck, but my neck's not really my problem. I get pain there, but it's nothing that I couldn't deal with. The stuff in the lower back, same thing. It's nothing that I couldn't deal with, but the stuff right here, the stuff that impinges my spinal cord, right where I've got a spinal stenosis, which is a narrowing of the thing, and it's right about the same place that happens is where I have my issue. And in order to get to it, they have to go through your lung. And because of where it's situated on the spinal cord, they would have to go through my lung here and then here. So they would be puncturing my lungs on both sides. It would be two separate operations with 70 to 80% mortality. And so or it was 60% mortality. Oh, that's 120% chance of death by the time they got it fixed. It's not an option. And I could sit there and wallow in it. I could be like, oh, poor me, poor pitiful me. But I don't. I try to stay positive, because when you put out the positivity returns. And I mean, look where we're at now. This is beyond my scope a decade ago, that I would be talking to people on the internet about how to help themselves. That's way beyond what I would have thought was possible. But that's perspective, right? One of the things that I learned is that a shift in your perspective can really change some things, because in this walking, I learned something. Human beings have primarily two different types of walking that they do. You can think of them easiest as if you were walking uphill versus walking downhill. You're either falling forward slightly or you're falling backwards slightly. And you're using forward progression in a controlled fall. Like you're either pushing yourself forward or you're kind of falling into the steps. And I didn't really think about that. I mean, when you're walking uphill, you're realizing that you have to push into it. And when you're walking downhill, you're realizing that you're kind of just stopping it. But I live in a flat land, and we didn't really think about that a lot. But I really started to when I started this walking, because I realized something. My left leg doesn't work too well. I have a tendency to limp, or I did have a tendency to limp. My natural way of walking was pushing forward. The way that I felt most comfortable walking for my entire life up until I was 32, 35. I forget how old I was when I got injured, but it's been over a decade now. I would walk stepping forward, like I would push forward with the ball of my foot, as opposed to stepping forward and easing into my heel. And when I was doing my walking and I was limping and it was taking me 40 minutes to walk a mile, I shifted my perception and I started walking the other way. I started walking as if I was walking downhill instead of walking as if I was walking uphill. And it changed my stride. It works different muscles in your body. You're performing the same exercise, right? You're performing everything the same except the direction that you're trying to achieve. And so instead of trying to force my way into things, I started just kind of trying to mentally put myself as if I was falling into it instead of pushing into it. And it really made a difference. It changed my stride. It made it where I don't limp without any surgery. And that's really something. Like, I'm not quite sure what exactly that is, but it is really something that just that little shift right there changed my physiology. Now, it's mostly the same muscles, but there is definitely a difference. And so changing my perspective like that allowed me to walk just a little bit better. And you see why this is such a great metaphor for what we're doing here, is because if you can change your perspective just a little bit, then you can make your walk so much better. You really can. And one of the ways that you do that is, instead of saying, man, it's going to be a shitty day today, you can say, thank you, Lord, for the blessing of this day. That changes the whole situation. It changes your mindset, it changes your perspective, and it allows you to be able to pull that blessing into your life, because God wants to bless you. He does. And you have free will. One of those universal laws is that you have free will. It's why the other side has to tell you what they're doing, and you have to comply with it. So when you're sitting down and you're watching the video, the movie, whatever it is these days. I watch news and I watch commentary and I watch a lot of science, but I don't watch much on Netflix. But whenever you sit down to these things and you're watching something that you know is just bad, right? It's not kind of bad. It's objectively bad, and you're just sitting there watching and consuming it. Well, that is focusing your perspective. That is what the forces against good really use to shoehorn in to our lives. And so we have to be intentional about what we do. And intentionality is powerful. It is one of the most powerful natural laws. It is right there with the law of attraction. That is how the law of attraction works. You set your focus so on the point that all else fades out. Have you ever been playing a sport and you get in the zone, right? Or at work and you're in the zone. Like I used to do packaging for Honeywell. We filled the refrigerant containers, the little ones that the people bring around, right? 30-pound little, like a propane tank, but different. And we filled that, but we would have 8 on one side and 8 on the other side, and we had to go down and hook them up, and we had to go down and tighten them off and break them loose. And you could get in a rhythm, and you're just doing what you got to do, that you're so quick, and you just roll in this rhythm, and you get in a zone. That is an intentionality thing. Whenever you can do that at will, and you can put yourself into the zone, and the way that you learn to do that is through meditation. And when you can put yourself into the correct mindset to direct your focus on this one thing, and then you act like there's a target over there, right? And you're focused on this target, and you see nothing but the target. And then instead of that target being way over there, you make that target right here. And you make that target right next to your face. And then you attract that target to your life. That is intentionality. That is the power of intentionality. When you do that, it happens. But make sure that if you use this, that your intentions are correct, because greed will get you. And it will get you in very gruesome ways, because what you put out is what returns to you. I'm hesitant to even release this much of this type of information, because this is the type of information that has only been passed on person to person, for the most part, through history. You don't see a whole lot of this written down. And it's because it can be used regardless of your intentions. Make sure that your intentions are focused in the proper way before you do anything, because another one of them universal laws is the law of returns, and the law of returns of thirds. So whatever you do, times 3 shall it be, and it will come back to you times 3 if your intentions are not correct. So don't be greedy. It's not a good idea. Don't be mean or malicious. That is really not a good idea. These laws and these things are real. The things that are possible with them are real. And the consequences that come with them are very real. But if you can fix your intentionality through self-discipline and with good intentions, you can bring forth change into your own life. Now, there can be an argument made that maybe the self-discipline helps to bring it in, and I'm not going to argue that that's wrong. But there is a law of return from the universe. You get back what you put in. What you reap, you shall sow. And the cup you use to judge is the one that'll be used against you. So intentions are very, very important. They're part of creation itself. God intended for us to be, and therefore we are. And we are a very tiny, 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 tiny sliver of the divine. None of us in ourselves are divine. None of us. And none of us are gods. I see a lot of that happening out there. I see a lot of people talking about we are gods, and we are not gods. We are a very tiny sliver of the divine, but we are not the divine. God is so beyond the conceptualization of your mind that you cannot even scope it. And I say that because it's beyond mine, and I'm not a dumb fella. I see one other thing. We're going to hit on it real quick because I keep seeing this a lot, and it's really been weighing on me a lot. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this video instead of continuing the Bible study today, is because there's a lot of people out there, especially in the community that I am becoming a part of. We're phasing away from the reactions, and we're about to phase into the new thing. And part of the new thing is a more spiritual leaning. And I see way too many people in this community that are saying that there is no dichotomy between good and evil. It's hard for me sometimes to remember that most of you have not ever seen evil. You have seen mean. You have seen nasty. You've seen some bad things, but you have not seen evil. There's few of us out there that have seen evil, and I have seen evil people. People that will not turn, and they enjoy entirely the evil things that they do. They enjoy entirely the evil that they do. There is black and there is white, and there is 5 million shades of gray, and most of you stay right here in the middle of these two shades. But there is absolute good and there is absolute evil. There are people out here that will hurt you just for the fun of it. There are people out here that will take you and do things to you just for the fun of it. Now, they're not doing what they were put here to do, because you are put here to resist those urges and those temptations, regardless of where on that shade of gray it falls. You are here to strive towards the white and away from the black, right? And I use those colors not in a racial way at all. You're here to do the right thing, regardless of the consequence that comes from it. But there are way too many people in this community that I am becoming a part of that want to say that there is no evil, and you are wrong. No matter how bad your life is, if you can't say, I saw evil, then you haven't seen evil. There's no doubt about it when you see it. And I've seen it. I've seen it more than once. I've seen it in some very low places with some very low people that I used to associate with quite frequently. And when I tell you that there is evil in their heart, there is. And it is not, it's not to say that they cannot be redeemed, but they very willingly are serving the dark forces. And that's just about as controversial as I'm going to let this video get. I hope that I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a very serious topic. I hope I did not do a bad thing by putting this out there, because this is knowledge. This is the wellspring of knowledge, is knowing the first two laws. And so if you can know the law of intentionality and perspectives, then you're well on your way to achieving what you need to achieve. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I'm praying for you every single day. Till next time, this has been Pittstake. Peace.